J-Mac, let me ask you this, because I think from a player perspective, we've talked about the players having to be the ones to uphold the standard.
Yep.
You went through this.
Yeah.
New coach, new system. Is it okay, we get in season and we see that this stuff is actually working when the buy-in happens? Is it I'm fully bought in training camp, I believe everything you say and you're not going to do anything wrong as you lead us, buy-in? How was it when you went through this, going from Dick Duran to Lovie Smith?
Yeah, it was, when Dick Duran, great coach, great man, great leader, his style was a little bit different. The coaching staff he had surrounding him was a little bit different. I would say they were more laid back, and people will probably question that, be like, well, Lovie was laid back. He didn't show any emotion, but, we saw things that the average fan didn't see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lovie didn't get fired up. You know what I mean? So it was a case to where, Lovie's first year, and that training camp was brutal. I mean, there were live periods. We're going live goal line, live short yardage. He had certain – and I thought it was good.
And Duran didn't do that.
No, he didn't. He did, but not to the extent that Lovie did it. I mean, every day we had some type of live situational period, right?
Right.
But at the same time, like, we were being ran into the ground. And if you remember, I think that year we were like 5-11.
Yeah.
Urlacher had a hamstring issue. Thomas Jones had a hamstring injury, and that just shows you how much running we were doing.
Yeah.
And Lovie came in and he brought in a new nutritionist, Rusty Jones, and we went from eating. I went from eating bacon and eggs and sausage and biscuits to eating carrots and grapes and them actually counting out Canadian. You have one slice of Canadian bacon. Like, he wanted us lean and fast. And guys were real resentful, to that, especially me, because I was a fat fool. I was resentful. But the pace of practice picked up, and I remember after us going, we're like, wow, this is crazy. Like, well, we got to buy in. If we don't get right, we're going to get left. You know what I'm saying? So when we went 5-11 that year, I think there was a lot of doubt. People was like, man, he's working us too hard, because guys, when they got to the season, they felt like they were wore out. And then that following year, Lovie actually, I think he realized that he was burning us out, and he scaled it back a little bit in terms of the volume and how long practice was. And it was still physical, but how physical it was. And if you recall, that following year, we went to, I think that's when we lost to Carolina.
We played Carolina.
Correct.
Yeah.
Guys were more healthy. Guys were
still
fresh.
resentful of Steve Smith for that. I ain't going to lie to you.
Yeah, I wanted to tackle Steve Smith from the sideline. I'm
we,
still looking for
we
Steve.
We saw him in training
and what
camp.
Did I tell you when
we
I
saw him on when Hard Knocks was
and
here.
what did I tell you?
I said, I'm going to go tackle him.
I feel like tackling him or slapping him upside his head right now. But, but that, I think the first year, I think some guys bought in. I had a big question mark. I was young, so I was like, man, this is crazy. This is a lot. And I think, when he starts scaling things back, and really he understood as a head coach that he couldn't run us into the ground. He had to make sure that we were fresh and ready, to go through the rigors of a long season, and we got better.
Yeah.
So obviously that next year, guys were bought in more, and we had more success.
Listen, the buy-in, we know where the buy-in has to start at, right? The buy-in has to start with Caleb Williams. I mean, I think that, again, we talk about Bears fans getting what they wanted. I think Caleb Williams got everything that he wanted this offseason. I mean, you go from, of course, we know the article, the book, all of that. You go from the question marks of the book, of I don't know if I can do this with Shane Waldron. I don't know how this team is going to be. And what ends up playing out during the season to, I mean, he got pranked by the Ben Johnson call because he was so excited that Ben Johnson might be coming to the Bears. He got everything that he wanted this offseason. They add more weapons to him. You add in Colston Loveland. You add in Luther Burden. You add all these pieces. The offensive line after a 68-sack season. The buy-in has to come from Caleb Williams. What are the expectations that we need to see on this young quarterback? Are you I think when we talk about the 10-win season or should you be bought in, should we be bought in that Caleb Williams is going to hit the ground running in this system? Yeah,
and it revolves all around him, especially when you're talking, not just when you're talking about offense, you're talking about this team. He's the key piece. He's the figurehead. And that's why you brought in an offensive-minded head coach who had success for a long time as an offensive coordinator. You brought in other guys on the offensive side of the ball that can help, develop Caleb, but also put together adequate game plans that play to his strengths, right? And we talked about this on the pod all the time, so make sure you guys tune in Monday through Friday. We talk about Caleb Williams, right? And I talk about him. Caleb Williams, right, he has to be a quarterback you win because of. And what I mean by that is, like, yes, you can win with a quarterback if you have a good defense, solid running game. You know what I mean? He's adequate. He's serviceable. But Caleb has to be a quarterback that you win because of. And what I mean by that is, right, there's going to be situations, right? Football is all about situations, right? Coaches practice situational football each and every day in practice. They always have a theme. What is the theme today? Third down, short yardage, red zone, 2 minute. Caleb has to be very good in those situations, and we got to win because of him. So 2 minute drill, right? Games on the line, right? The perfect protection may not be called. Ben Johnson's not going to call the perfect play.
Right.
But we have to have that type of quarterback because of his skill set and his elite talent. We're going to win because of. He transcends that play. He rolls out, rolls out and throws a pinpoint dime to DJ Moore for a touchdown that should have been picked off. That's winning because of, right? We're winning because Caleb Williams went out there and threw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and had 1 turnover. You know what I mean?
Now, let me ask you this. Did we see that last season and it was undermined? Because that's how I feel when I watch. I'm a sycophant, guys. And if you wonder what I did with my weekend, I was watching a Minnesota Vikings Chicago Bears 2006 game. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I sit there and go back and rewatch a lot of these games. So I was watching Caleb from last season last night, and to me, it looks like there are all these moments of him being exactly what you're describing and then something else happening or something that's out of his control, or maybe something that if he's a second-year quarterback will be in his control. I think about the timeout play, right? That Caleb, you can do one of these too. As much as we say, Flus, you can do one of these. Caleb, you got that in your arsenal too. You knew you had a timeout in your pocket. You could have called it. Did we see that last year and he just kind of got undercut, I'll say?
There's glimpses of that, right? We know what the dysfunction was like last year. The whole season was dysfunctional, right? It's been how many coordinators did he have? How many coaches did he have, right? Like, did he watch film? Did he not watch film? Yeah. We know all the dysfunction has been talked about, has been put out there, right? But here's the thing. The sacks, right? The sack total was high, and we could say the offensive line was inadequate. Yes, but some of those sacks was on Caleb. And he'll tell you that himself.
100%.
Holding the ball too long, not taking the check downs when they're there. Offensively, first downs equal touchdowns. So it's the same thing. Rookie quarterback, he wants to make the splash play. He wants to be a difference maker. He wants to be a playmaker. But sometimes you got to take that check down, right? You got to play within the scheme. And I saw sometimes, there was a clean pocket. Caleb wanted to scramble. He didn't have to. Yeah. Resulted in a sack. Well, if you stayed in the pocket and really manipulated the pocket, kept your eyes downfield, delivered that throw on time, yes, it would have been a good play. So I think it half is on Caleb and half is on the dysfunction that we had.
You
last
put a
year.
Half on him. You put half of the failure on him.
For sure. A lot, and he'll say that a lot of it's him too. Like he's got. We saw how many times do we see him? Have some wide open touchdowns. He overthrew the ball.
Overthrown it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he knows he's got to get better. But at the same time, look at the system he was in. Was it a good system that was really designed to be able to promote his strengths, to have him succeed on Sundays based upon his abilities, right? Was it a system from a protection standpoint that was put in place that would allow him to have time to throw the ball? Was the game plan adequate each and every week? There's a lot of factors that go into it that's beyond his control. Was he watching film? We don't know, right? He said he wasn't. We saw a couple weeks ago that it came out that Coach Flus said he was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So a lot of dysfunction there. I don't know.
Listen. That was a very Flus answer that he gave. What I experienced while I was there.
The dysfunction was there.
Crusher,
but definitely,
that would be me.
But half of the blame is definitely on Caleb. He would come out and say that. Like the sacks, yes, offensive line was bad at times, but Caleb was bad at times as well. Yeah. And he's got to get better. And I think having a guy like Ben Johnson lead this offense, but also a guy who has a proven track record of understanding how to put an elite offense together, but not just that, has a track record, right? Look what he made Jared Goff look like. Yep. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'd say Caleb Williams has, from a skill set standpoint, like
Amon-Ra's what, a fifth round?
That's
pick?
what I'm saying.
Fourth round pick.
That's what I'm saying. When you have the type of coach that can put together a scheme that's going to really accentuate the skill set and really fit the talent or the personnel that you have, and you put that game plan together each and every Sunday, guys can go out there and play fast, and the coach knows the limitations, so he's not going to put them he's not going to try to force them to do things that they're not good at.
Yeah.
If I'm on Ross St. Brown's not really good at running a post route, well, guess what? He's not going to be the post route runner. It's going to be Jameson Williams, who may be more adept at running that route. And when you have coaches that understand that on how to put things together based upon their personnel, well, then, hey, guess what? You may have an offense that averages 33 points a game. You may have a quarterback that takes the next step. You have an offense that's, leading the league in terms of yardage and touchdowns. You have guys playing at a high level because now the confidence is there because they know that their coaching staff, from an offensive standpoint, is going to make sure that the game plan is tailored to their strengths and their skill set.